As you mentioned needs though, in the curriculum development process, what comes first? Needs or goals?
Yes.
Explain.
It's like a chicken and egg situation. The goals are written because of the needs that are observed. And the needs will determine the goals. So it's a chicken and egg situation. But if I was asked to choose,
Right.
and if there was no way out of it, I would say the needs, addressing the needs. Because it's by looking at the needs that the goals are identified, and the goals are framed. And we also must bear in mind, though, that there are some goals, there are some national goals that might not be readily identified as educational goals. There are some goals that may not be readily seen inside the classroom, but eventually those broad goals are still being addressed in incremental ways, so that the citizen that is produced at the end of schooling, at the end of their education, will be one fit
Could
to
you
live
give me
and
an
work.
example of
An
one
example
such?
of a broad goal that at first glance might not be seen as being readily addressed in the classroom.
Yes.
A goal, for example, like citizenship, then I must admit that every effort is being made to address that right now. The matter of being a good citizen, the matter of conflict resolution in the community, trying to prevent violence from flaring up, being a good mediator. That might not be readily seen by some outside of the classroom process as things that should be addressed in the classroom, but those are being addressed in smaller ways, in allowing children to work in groups. The skill of working in a group will allow that student, when that student has become an adult working in the community, to better work with community persons.
Yes.
In projects that involve cooperation to do some things like having a community meeting to discuss the election of a councillor, or projects in the community. How can we come together to ensure that our roads are fixed? A student who has learned to work in groups in the classroom will be better able to gather persons around and relate to them in situations like that.
What do you believe drives development of a new curriculum?
There are certain things that are immediate. For example, further improvement and advancement in technology. A curriculum that is not up to date in terms of the use of technology. Allowing students to use technology and allowing teachers to use technology in instruction. That curriculum will have to be updated. It should not just include technology, but include advanced technology. Take into account the rate at which the technology is advancing. For example, a math class should, for example, include maybe podcasting or using Skype. Children will get excited when the more advanced levels of technology are being used. So technology is certainly a driver for curriculum change. Also changes in values and attitudes, changes in practices, because those changes occur in society. Certain things that are accepted now were not accepted before. and those changes would have to be reflected in the curriculum. So cultural changes, technological changes, changes in terms of how we view the world. If the curriculum does not reflect the fact that the world is now a global village, a change would have to take place.
Do you believe that the curriculum caters to the diverse needs of students in relation to standardized testing?
In terms of standardized testing, the development of these tests would have gone through a very rigorous process, and the goals, the objectives of the test would be broad-based. These goals would be what would think a child at the stated level that the test is being taken, the competencies a child should have. So I begin with acknowledging that a lot would have gone into the planning of those standardized tests. What we as curriculum practitioners should do is to put in those provisions for teachers to improve instruction, to intensify the instruction for those students that need special attention, and do other things to allow those students who are not at the level, or who would not have attained that level over a specified time, to be prepared. Of course, we know that there are some students, because of disabilities, will not be able to attain those standards. But where those disabilities do not occur, everything should be done in the classroom to enable those students. It might mean additional materials for some students. It might mean changing a teaching strategy for those students. Whatever it takes to enable the students, we should be doing that.
What type of professional development exists in the ministry for multicultural education then?
I think multicultural education is not an emphasis in Jamaica as it is for some other countries like the United States. But we're aware that things have to be put in place to enable the teachers to teach a class that has a variety of abilities that come from a variety of well, they originate from various cultures. So whereas we don't single out multicultural education for strict attention, we make the teachers sensitive to the needs, the varied needs of the students when they deliver instruction. They must involve students of different ethnic groups, for example, when they should take the opportunity for involving the students when the opportunities arise, such as when we're having cultural days, or even in the National Heritage Week, or Indian heritage, or African heritage, and so on. So the children of various ethnic groups can participate in plays depicting their own ethnic background, and also participate in other activities that will involve them in meaningful ways. So we would certainly recommend that in helping teachers to be aware of the multicultural needs, or addressing the multicultural needs in the classroom.
What's the most effective way to hold teachers accountable for the curriculum?
Well, accountability can be ensured in various ways. One of the ways that has been engaged in the ministry is the use of performance appraisals. The teachers should know that they're being observed, the way they teach, the way they prepare, the way they conduct themselves. So the performance appraisal is one way. But there are other ways as well. Holding teachers accountable in the everyday processes. For example, requiring lesson plans, requiring reports, requiring attendance at meetings, things like those. So those are simple things that can add up to the bigger aspect of the performance appraisal.
Do you think, though, that there might be some amount of flaw then to some extent with the teacher appraisal, bearing in mind that teachers know that they're being appraised, and some teachers might put on a show which would not give a true reflection of their abilities? How would you advise, let's say, a principal to deal with a situation like this?
I would think that a teacher appraisal is not a one-shot thing. The appraisal takes place at the end of a year when the principal would have had a chance to observe that teacher over time. So a one-shot show certainly would not figure in a big way in a year-long observation. And that observation would be put on the appraisal, that the teacher is capable of doing a good class. Take, for example, a teacher who is not performing. A relevant comment on the appraisal would be, this teacher is capable of more and has in fact indicated or shown that the performance can be better, but overall is not a high performer. Okay. So the performance appraisal would have it would be able to show when a teacher is consistent or not. The relevant section of the appraisal would enable a principal or any other officer filling out an appraisal to account for all of these situations.
What are some of the beneficial workshops or professional development that you would suggest for teachers and administrators in curriculum planning and implementation?
Workshops can take place not just at the Ministry of Education level, but also at the school level. Professional development sessions could be held, and principals or heads of department could invite resource persons to present and conduct sessions with teachers in aspects such as lesson planning, supervisory management for the senior staff, multigrade teaching. It's a multigrade school and the teachers need extra help in putting their lesson plans together and carrying out other activities. There could be workshops on how to motivate students. There could be workshops that offer content where it is seen that content is weak in the subject area. There could be workshops on methodology. There could be workshops on the use of technology in the classroom. How to use a cell phone, how to use the computer to do things that are not normally done in the classroom.